Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Hello, folks. That was a game that happened. I have a lovely guest on today. But before I let him introduce himself, I am just going to say today's show's theme is Samuel Montembeau a baby girl? We're gonna answer that question. Uh, how is uh how is everything going tonight? Sorry, I almost dropped my phone.
Yeah, things are going well. I'm happy. I'm happy with everything. Yeah, it's can't really complain about too much, honestly. Like, uh, Flyers. I'm sorry for all the Habs people are watching, but the Flyers squeaked out a win and a pretty deserving win.
I
But
would
yeah,
say so. I would
things
say
are going pretty well.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, everybody, the way we usually do this, and we're going to try to keep to it, is first period, we'll talk a little bit about the game itself. Lots to say, and also not a lot to say. Second period, we'll go over some individual players. I know we're going to get into the Flyers and the Habs. I really want to talk about Demidov, obviously, but Monty, Thomas has people that he wants to talk about. But those are just irrelevant. We'll figure that out later when we get there. And in the third period, we'll get into rebuilds, life cycle of a rebuild, and where both of our teams are in terms of just what we're expecting, what's happening, and what the reality is. So, and then over time, of course, we'll be taking your questions. Everybody, you can drop questions now if you want, but the only issue is YouTube doesn't let me scroll as far back as the start of a show. So if possible, you can save them or throw them in there. Who knows? Maybe I'll just see them. I don't know. Okay. So to start the game, the final score was 5-4. Had to read that. Because it felt like it was a game that was somehow 1-1 and also 5-4. Not the best start for the Habs. How were you feeling coming out of the gate?
Yeah, the start felt obviously just like explosive. Like it felt a little bit from the Flyers, like obviously the early brink goal. Just like I coming into this game, I felt like because the Flyers aren't the fastest, I was very worried about how quick and fast paced the Habs have been this season.
Mhm.
So looking at like both teams even before puck drop, I was skeptical that this would be the result or this first start. So when Brink scored that goal, um, it was just kind of like a kind of a breather, like, oh, they could actually score, they could actually play against the Habs team that has been pretty good this season.
Mhm.
And then obviously just going from there in the first period, but just like just kind of just going from there and actually scoring power play goals, which is like not something that they do. Um,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, to start the game is kind of just like
yeah.
an initial just like, oh, like you could like
Yeah, I guess seeing
it,
that like it wasn't gonna be an embarrassing game, I think,
yeah,
is always a good start.
yeah,
Although knowing what I've seen of the Flyers and knowing what I know of the Habs, starts aren't always the way they finish, right? So I'll be honest, I wasn't able to catch most of the first period. I was more just uh timeline watching, and the timeline was crashing out, I'll tell you that. We'll get a little bit more into what the crash outs were about, but hey, for right now, we can talk about the good things, which is I'm gonna skip over the three goals. I'm telling you that. Also, I did not watch the three goals, so I'm not getting into them. But hey, okay, I'll give you like a minute
okay.
tops to talk about them. What did you see on those goals that you enjoyed?
Well, ultimately, it was a lot of Trevor Zegras magic, and spoiler alert, he'll probably be one of the players that I talk about in the second period here. But um, he's ultimately just like become such a riser of on this Flyers team, and that was so evident on the that first power play goal with Cam York of just like being able to just sneak around and like York and him kind of shift spots, and then York, I believe it was Jake Evans, I think penalty kill.
He was not there.
Um,
No, he wasn't there actually. He wasn't there. If he
71 is Jake Evans, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
if Jake Evans got scored on, he did not actually. I'll tell you that.
okay.
I'll tell
Actually,
you
he's
that for
great.
free. So
Maybe
yeah,
he's baby girl.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I mean,
yeah, it's
many. It's a long list.
like it was so sick that I'm sorry that I feel like I'm stepping on territory and then gloating about how sick it was to score against. But Zegras drew in Jake Evans into the half boards and then kind of just did a spin backhand pass back to York, who had a clear open shot for his first goal of the year. And it was just like ultimately just something that we don't see a lot in Philly of like um this talent level and like especially the last couple of years, like in that spot, it'd be Poirier doing that or like a Forster who's injured right now, but like players that are talented and talented in their own right, but not Zegras level of like being able to pull out a play like that just really out of nowhere. So
Yeah.
that was on that first power play goal, and then the second was just kind of like being able to chip away, and again, it was from Zegras too, but like getting Brink out from net front, and it's something that the Flyers haven't been able to do again all season. And I'm sorry that this is the game where the Flyers are able to do a bunch of things. Be like for the first time this season, they're finally
Habs
finding
love
this
giving up
success.
first. Habs love giving up first, including what
But
happened to
yeah,
tie the game. So we'll get into that later.
but yeah, I think the first three goals in that first period that led to them having that 3-0 lead and going into that first intermission was ultimately just like a sign of like, oh my god, they're like actually being able to score a whole lot and score in ways that appear like not repeatable, but in a same way of that they kind of are because of just the players that they have and like in the
Mhm.
way that they're able to deceive on the power play and yeah, and I think it was just a real good sign for potentially things to come.
Yeah.
But in the end, later on in the game, there's signs of things that they need to work on, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, obviously. So to move on from that, because nothing important happened,
Yeah.
in period two, I have it written, I was not thrilled with the way they came back. I was expecting some fire out of the gate, and instead it was like, one of those like electric stoves that take forever to heat up. It was
Yeah.
one of those situations. But hey, they get the goal. Kirby Doc, well-deserved goal, man. He has been doing a lot of the right things. It's just not been working out for him. So with a player like that, with everything he's gone through, it's just nice to see. Um, but after that, then it's power play goal. Oh man, I used to pray for times like these for the Habs. That power play, ooh, that power play is just so exciting because I don't know if you know this, Thomas, but we the Habs had this strategy that was called carry price, and they had nothing else.
Yep.
And that
Okay.
strategy just required on a lot of like it was not great. Like Nick Suzuki, I think 12 at a 12 game or 13 game point streak is the first who's done it since 1995 or something like that. So, it's not we're not doing great there, but it's so good to see. It's so good to see Demidov make that pass, that have that IQ, I think is the thing that's really appreciated in Demidov is I don't think that he's the kind of I've been very shocked or pleasantly surprised by the fact that I think he's back checks question mark, which is not something you always expect from a rookie. We don't always get that from all of our star rookies. What can I say? Um, sorry, that was a dig on nobody in particular. Um,
Okay. Oh, chill out. Maybe that'll be the third period of settling down the grounds of Mitchkov and Demidov. We need to cool down the Jets with everything, but
I
we'll get
honestly
to that.
listen, that was a to me, it was Hudson Dum and now we are where we are. Um, I will simply end the fight once I feel like we've got it ground up. I will not let the light it's the whole don't stay in line. Okay, so the power play goal, really happy with the way Dimmy Dove plays that. Nick Suzuki seems like he wants to get 100 points, but wants 90 of them to be assists. So for Demidov to make him, hand him some goals, great stuff. Um, what were you feeling at this point? The game is now 3-2. Uh, are you feeling confident that the Flyers can hold on and, not let
Oh
that
no, not at all. No, not at all. Come on. Like, as soon as I saw
I had to
Demidov make that
ask. I
cross,
had to
that
ask.
cross, yeah, as soon as I saw Demidov made that cross-ice pass, I was like, this is just gonna be, like, something where he just completely dominates, and he did, like, that again later, obviously scoring the other power play goal, and, like, it's just something where, like, I feel like there's just gonna be some, like, big narrative coming out of this game that's gonna be annoying, online and just, like but
People
I
on the
am a
internet being
Demidov.
annoying?
Yeah, I
People
know.
on the internet?
I'm a Demidov appreciator.
Yeah.
I don't wanna compare them, compare our star Russians, but, um,
Our little baby
I could
boys. You can say
appreciate
it.
yeah,
Our little
our little boy. Um, one is just a little bit, chubbier, but I'm just kidding. But, there's a
That's a whole another
I
conversation.
yeah. But, there's I felt that it was initially, like, something was gonna happen. There was gonna be a either, like, the Flyers come back and it's 4-2 and then kinda kill their momentum, or it's just, like, a complete steamrolling all the
Yeah,
way to the eventual win.
yeah.
And I was kinda proven by it being 4-3 before the end of the period. But, like, it felt like there was a time just like this, same way the Flyers were able to come first and barrel
Mhm.
themselves to the 3-0 lead. I could feel that coming, like, it was the same kind of feeling the other way. And I find it interesting what you're saying, like, earlier when you're, like, saying they're, like, 1-goal games, basically. And it kind of felt like that. It was just, like, it was, like, 2 waves, but the waves just consisted of 3 or 4 goals,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
really
the
funny
same
because
wave.
when my team gets embarrassed, it's like they're down 4-0, it's 4-0, but when it's 4-4, at that point, it might as well be 1-1, right?
Yeah.
Clearly the same game has been played, right? Um, but yeah, seeing Kirby get that goal, that 3rd one to tie the game, I think it's Lane Hudson reminding us that he exists, and that he is also still a very good player. Because I think there's a little bit of new toy syndrome with Demidov. But I think most Habs fans are happy to admit that, man, we have two really good newish toys. So
Yeah.
having that pass by Lane and then Kirby cashing in, and then almost, having Demidov again on the power play. I'm looking at my notes, guys. I promise I'm not just staring at nothing. Um, yeah, so by the end of that period, my last note, by the way, on the second period is Monty, I'm sorry, I wasn't familiar with your game. So at that point, Simon Montevo is having a much better game. Uh, how are we feeling about our goalie?
Um, well, it was just like he's been Dan Vladar's been so good all season. Like, he was the free agent acquisition to kind of solve the Flyers not solve, but, like, raise the floor a little. Like, last
Hmm.
year he was, like, still below average, but I don't know if you paid attention to the Flyers goalie last year, but, like, I think combined their team save percentage was, like, 870. It was
Is
like
what, sorry?
it was like the 870.
Oh, that's fun.
It was literally the worst team save percentage since they started tracking. Like,
That's
it was
really
like
cool. That
1980s, like, it
really
was
cool and
1980s
fun.
goaltending,
Yeah.
basically. Like, so any, like, player that could actually save anything and do anything would be better than that. So they signed him as, like, kind of a younger, floor raising kind of guy. So, and he's been really good this season. I think he had, like, a 924,
How old is
but,
he? Is he younger? For some reason, I feel
he's
like I've.
28.
Okay, okay, that's about
So he's,
right.
like, not young, but, like,
He's got some time in him.
he's young enough you could say, like, "Oh, he's 5 years from now, he could still be."
Yeah.
Um, so it's it w coming into this, I was confident, but then seeing him just, like, leak through and, like, ultimately, I was like, I don't blame him for a lot of the goals, like, that Gerby Dack, his 2nd goal, the he basically just, like, Lane Hudson made Jacob Gauthier, like, absolutely look stupid, and Jacob Gauthier was, like, called up from the AHL. He's, like, been an ECHL guy. He's our 4th line center. So,
It's a
like,
it's a it's a rough matchup, I think.
it's a little hydrogen bomb versus coffee baby thing. Um, but it's like, so he just didn't look like an NHL player at all. So that was kind of bad. And then Demidov, like, that other his actual goal, just, like, being able to, like, again, it was Hudson on it was Couturier on Hudson at the point, and Hudson just getting away from him, and then Demidov just making, like, catching Cam York a little bit flat-footed. Like, it was just it was not a good look for, like, the defense in front of him, that I wouldn't blame a whole lot on Vladar. I don't know how you feel about Montembeault about that,
We'll
but,
get
like,
into that
I think
later.
yeah, I think Vladar, like, came into this, and I don't feel any different coming out of this. Like, his stats look worse, obviously, because
It's
the Habs
rough.
just had 20 shots. Yeah, so,
They
like,
got
his
to
his
20?
stats
They
took
got
a
to
hit.
20? Oh my God, I'm so
They got to
proud of
20. They
them.
got to 20. I don't know what Vladar's actual save percentage in this game. It was 800, obviously.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, so not great. But my opinion of him hasn't really changed. It's just like the team in front of them were just kind of a little bit slower to react to a lot of the passes that the
yeah.
Habs were making. So um, yeah, I'd put it more on the skaters in their own zone and being caught a little bit, like, not, well, I said flat-footed already, but, like, caught a little bit just, like, not paying a whole lot of attention,
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily put it on the goalie.
I want to give somebody in our chat, MFM, a shout out at the game and joining as they're waiting for the metro. So hello and hello everybody in our chat. I'm seeing some lovely new names and our regulars. Can't wait to talk to you guys about this a little bit more. And get your questions in. But thank you so much for stopping by. I am going to just do an annoying quick, please like the video if you haven't yet. And please subscribe if you're not subscribed. Shocking amount. I was looking at some of the stats. Shocking amount of people watch that aren't subscribed. But I promise if there's a video that I'm gonna post, it'll be like some not clickbait, but like some insane reaction on the thumbnail that'll make me look really stupid. So if you want to see that, stay tuned. Oh, so listen, I want to touch on the Olays. Just really quickly. This is a separate thing. I think I am both of the mind of do not Ole. And also, after
Mm.
the kind of first period that those poor fans watched out of the Habs, they deserve to Ole all they want. Like it's a very I don't know if you've ever looked at the prices of the Bell Center. They're a lot, right? So it's I always get a little bit frustrated and also get mad at myself because then some part of me buys into it. So the Olays, it's a that's a hot conversation. But period three. Okay, first of all, let's talk about that fight. I do not know why Arbor took that fight. I would not have taken that fight if I were him.
No, yeah. Well, I think they fought in was it the preseason? I
It was his
think.
brother. It was Florian Jacki who got the fight.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
They're both insane, so that's why they
Yeah,
both fought.
but I think Arbor and Delorier fought last season.
Yes, I
I
believe
think,
they have fought once.
yeah, yeah. So, and that was a more even matchup. But yeah, with especially with, like, the way going, I guess, for them, it's just like, don't engage, don't, like, don't give them any reason to come back at all. Not saying that, like, Grabenkin's goal was because of the fight, but yeah, I would not. I'd probably advise on not taking that fight, especially on, like, Delorier, French Canadian guy, like, full of pride and in
He'll
his home
get yeah,
province. Yeah, like, he gets riled up.
yeah. No, I'm taking a look at some of the time on ice. The thing is, the Habs. So Arbor Jacki is the lowest defenseman right now at 10 minutes and 38 seconds, and above him is Jaden Struble at 15 minutes. With Arbor, it's listen, we really don't have the horses on defense right now, especially on defensive defense right now, with Caden Gooley being out, to really have afford to have our defensemen off the ice in any sort of extended amount of time. But, those guys have their own weird code. So I'm sure that they had like some sort of agreement or something like that. I felt like our boy, held his own, but at the end of the day, it's Delorier and Olivier who are at the top of that. I think fighting, duking it out for a heavyweight champion there. But Arbor Jack guys trying, he's trying, and I can appreciate that. Holy shit. Sorry, I'm taking a look. Mike Matheson played 6 minutes and 48 minutes 48 minutes, 48 seconds on the PK. So that's really cool and dope and something that's sustainable for sure. That is definitely something that's good. Um But yeah, okay, so I got my notes say, whatever, Jack guy is beautiful, more younger, sexier, happier. So that's apparently my reaction to that. Um, can we talk about that boarding call on Cole
It was fair.
Caulfield?
It was fair.
It
He's
was
he's just
just,
a big, strong boy. So like
it was
he's
just so
bigger and
funny.
stronger than Jamie Drysdale. I don't know what you're talking about.
The look on his face, he's like, he just looks so indignant about it. So it was just that's just what I found funny. The thing that sucked about that 4-4 goal is right before that, they'd had a really big PK. They had some good
Mhm.
PK with Monty having some great saves by the end. But Monty loses that stick. No one grabs it. He doesn't grab it. That's a debatable conversation. What should he have done? I think having the stick is better than not. Personally, if I were a goalie, I would simply just grab my stick, right? Um, I would simply pick it up. But at 4-4, how are you feeling? What have you seen and how you're feeling in general?
I'm feeling great. I felt like it was deserved, like the way that the Flyers were able to like resist a little bit and continue. Like, cause like it would be classic Flyers for like to be down 4-3 and then just let the Habs just like eventually just like walk to the win, get the
Mm.
empty net, like make the net empty, allow the empty netter, 5-3 win, whatever. Or like 5-3 loss Flyers. Um, so to have that and Gurbenkin score his first career goal from like an insane just snipe from long distance,
I
just
was
like
really mad about
n-
how good that was too.
just like it's he's not that type of player either. Like he'd rather fight than score goals.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
that kind of guy. Like he has some offensive juice to him, but he's mostly like he'll be a grinder for his entire career. Um, so like to have that come from him just to show like, oh, I can do this, and like
Mm.
to make it his first is just kind of insane. But like I was saying, I think it was deserved. I think Konechny had a really good, solid like the zone entry, and then them linking up with Noah Cates there, and Gurbenkin just kind of fooling everyone. Coming up behind, like I think it was just a real solid play that ended up as like I said, an end result of like ongoing pressure that ended up
They earned that
with
one.
them being rewarded. Yeah, for
They
sure.
earned that one for sure. That's you know, I could that's one of the ones where I could feel it coming, like they got hemmed in for a little too long, a little too often. It's bound to happen. Monty was at that point, I would say, doing real good, right? Let's discard the first three. From then on, I thought he locked in, right? And I think that's out of a goalie, honestly, and we'll get a little bit more into this later, but out of a goalie being able to lock in after that kind of start, it's important. And it was good to see out of Monty, especially after the season start in general that he's had. But it's rough. It's rough. Also I have don't know if this is in chronological order because I saw the hit happen before, but it says Nick Suzuki reverse hit Auga. So that's that's there some way. So we
Yeah,
got
totally.
that. He was surprisingly physical today. It was crazy. I think he knew that Team
Mhm.
Canada was in the stands
Oh,
watching.
were they? Oh,
Doug
yeah, Doug
Armstrong was
Armstrong was
there.
there,
Yeah,
wasn't there?
Doug Armstrong was there. Um,
Yeah.
and he hates the Flyers. Nick Suzuki will like dunk on them any chance he gets. So, good on him. Good on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
yeah, I just said that I think the Habs are trying to win this without playing more than 10 shifts on 5 versus 5. And I shockingly not a winning strategy. So we end that period 4-4. Um, how are you feeling about OT?
OT was interesting. I felt like
We're going
um
into OT, sorry.
going into OT. Okay. Yeah, I felt pretty confident of just like the some of the weapons that we have, but again, I was still scared of like Hudson, Demidov, and Suzuki, Slavkovsky using his body and stuff like that. I think if you go on like skill level, the
Hmm.
Habs have it miles. Like Christian Dvorak was in our 3-on-3. Like you know
which
him.
was very
He was
funny.
playing. He was playing a very primary role on our team right now. So
Debo
yeah,
the
like
God.
that. That's the vibe that we're going into OT with. But
Yeah.
I was concerned, but I was still feeling pretty good with like the momentum and the last goal being to the Flyers. I felt like it was still a positive feeling, but I felt like just getting 1 point out of that potential collapse kind of would mute a little bit of the narrative and like panic from potentially just losing.
Hmm. Yeah, I think at that point, I was just they're lucky to get that 1 point out of this. With
Yeah.
the Habs being the Habs, I was expecting some sort of insane circus ass goal, and it was either going to be for them or against them, right? It was going to be insane. So hey, if nothing else, because it ended up going to shootout, the Habs still have not lost an OT, so they keep that, I guess. Technically, they still haven't lost an OT, so we got that win. I just said mostly, I really enjoyed, at the end of OT that Nick kind of again put his body on the line there, won the face-off, which has been very important in our on our team, and one of the reasons why we're missing Debo a lot, the face-off issue, with a capital T, F, and I, also like the face-off issue. But seeing Nick kind of block that shot, uh, it's just good to see your skill guys doing that, right? Um, and then the shootout, I saw Zegras, and I was like, "Oh, it's
He's
over."
so good. It's insane. He literally, I think someone tweeted it out, and I knew this from before or whatever, but um, I think he leads like all time shootout percentage like success rate.
Yeah,
Like
because
he's
he's
literally
a
the
he's a
best
trick
shootout winner
shot
ever. Like
merchant. He's a trick shot
yeah,
merchant.
but it works.
But it worked. It
That's
worked.
how if the Flyers make the playoffs, it's gonna be like just off of him scoring shootout. Like I know we could get into the fancy stats of like Gar and like War and like all this stuff of like, oh, this player is like more deserving and really how many standing points there are. No, I think it's Zegras. Like just because of his shootout wins, he probably earned them like 10 points just like in the standing, like no matter what, just automatic. So
Honestly, yeah. I was with the Demidov. It was a good chance or good try. He's still a baby. I think it's his first shootout attempt in the NHL or the second maybe. I can't remember. But I honestly doesn't really matter at that point. Like I really can't get bothered about that. But I will also repeat one of my beautiful posts about the Demidov versus Zegras moment, which was literally, who cares? Demidov, younger, more beautiful, less slimy. And I stick by that. Again, that's my narrative and I'm sticking to it. Yeah, people say, we miss Devo on our PK. Yeah, that's a guy we miss there. Um, but
he wasn't even on our first unit, like, until
PK?
Forster was injured.
Oh,
Yeah, for
really?
first unit PK, he wasn't even there, yeah. He was,
Interesting.
like, barely playing on our PK just because we have so many good Konechny and Couturier and Forster and just, like it's the Flyers' way of, like, having too many defensive forwards to care about.
No, with the Habs, I think it's a little bit of there's a little bit too much turnover on our penalty kill
Mhm.
unit. And Jake Evans being amazing, great, wonderful, is doing his best, but there's only so much that he can do to hold it together. But also, I did like some of our PKs this game. I think they were nice and
Mhm.
aggressive. Uh, I think Josh Anderson had at least two breakaways or two shorthanded goal opportunities in this game. So overall, I was pretty happy. Honestly, it's fine. By the end of this game, really, I'm just feeling it's fine. I can't be bothered to get too worked up about this.
I mean, yeah, you guys got 1 point, it's fine. After, like, that 60 minutes, I'd be like, "Yeah, a point? Sure." Like, fine.
100%. Fine, I'll take it. Like literally, sure, thanks. Why not? Um, so we'll get into some of our individual players because I think some of our individual players actually had a lot to do with this game. Some exciting names. I will try my best not to be mean to Trevor Zegras. Um, I can't promise, but I'll do my best. But before we get there, I do want to send us over to our lovely, lovely sponsors. Um, Why don't we start with Inchu Bichu? I say that like I don't do it any other way. It will get you to Andrew of Pastimes about Inchu Bichu, and we will be right back.
Famous chateau at 4000 Rue Saint Ambroise lies one of Montreal's coolest secrets, a glamorous Gothic jewelry store owned and run by women. Inchu Bijou isn't just a business. They've built a community that supports bold creativity and expression. When I was first introduced to founder Astrid Episegomian's shop, I was floored by the detail, vision, and scale of what she's built from her own mind. I don't think anyone would call me goth, but I know an innovator when I see one. Along with building their own business, Inchu Bijou also hosts markets for vendors in their space called Marché Maleficarum, boosting their whole community. If you don't live in Montreal, explore inchubijou.com, where you'll find over 800 designs that range from affordable to bespoke. Check out Inchu Bijou right now, a Game Over partner from the beginning.
I should be a lot quicker on that unmute. However, I simply am not, and it's a skill issue, and I will admit that. You think that I'd be used to it by now, but however, I am simply not. So we're back. So about why don't I just get this out of the way? I don't want to talk
Yeah,
about
yeah.
this, so I'm just gonna get this out of the way. Semi Monteville had a interesting game. Let's put it that way, right? I think it's really, really, really hard and kind of unfair to blame a goalie. Once you've got, let me just check the shots again here to make sure that I'm not hallucinating them. Yeah, 42 shots for the Flyers, 20 shots for Montreal. Uh, It was not a great, showing for them. Um, oh, hits are pretty even actually, 26 to 22. Um, you know, whatever, not that it matters. Um, but Simon Montembeau, that start was not inspiring, and I think he would have gotten a lot longer of a leash from fans if he hadn't had the track record that he's had. I think there was um some moments there where I was like, okay, that's a deflection. You can't really blame him for that. But it's, listen, I'm just going to say this because I feel bad being mean about Monty because I genuinely think he's a very, very likable guy. And he put us on his back. He put us on his back for a long time. So whatever. All of those disclaimers out of the way. I think sometimes you just need your goalie to make a save. Your defense breaks down. They aren't always going to be great. Um, which, by the way, I would like to tell everybody, fun fact, Lane Hutton was the only one who'd blocked a shot by the end of the first. So that's great. I was like, I saw someone tweet like the people yearn for for Caden Gooley, and I was like, the people yearn for like David Savard at this point with the shot blocking. But yes, the people do also yearn for Caden Gooley. I think this would have been a really good game to have him around. Um, but he got it back. He really did. And I just don't know how I can look at a game like this, look at the shots, and say Monty was a problem. Like, I know how momentum works, and I know how all of these things work. And you can always say that, hey, maybe they wouldn't have gone down 0-3 if Monty doesn't let that in. Maybe they would have played better to start if they hadn't had that disaster start. Like you can talk about all these things all you want, but at the end of the day, the guys didn't do enough in front of him. They simply did not. You're not going to score on 20 shots, or will, but you won't. If you're having the kind of night that this team was, that's not how it works. Just from an outsider's perspective, what did you see out of Sam Montembeau? And I don't mean just this game. I mean, in general, what have you been seeing? I know you've been begrudgingly watching the Habs.
Hey, I'm a Habs appreciator. I just like good hockey. So but yeah, I haven't been paying attention to too many games before. Like I'm not like living and dying by every
could you?
shot like you guys are. So yeah. I'm just like trying to enjoy the game. So if it's like a bad goalie matchup, then it's more exciting. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think overall I just I knew. I think last year felt like a little bit of paper tiger. Like it felt fragile from like his performance. So going into this season, I wasn't like, oh, he's gonna be for sure. And I think like most, I might be talking out like out my rear end right here, but like I think most Habs fans would probably say like there is a possibility that Dobish like outperforms him going into
Mhm.
the season. Like before the season even began, like you said, like maybe 15, 20 games in, there's potential switch of like expectation of who's the starter. Um,
Shockingly, actually,
but
no. Shockingly, there wasn't a
oh
goalie
really?
controversy going
Okay.
into this year, and the Habs were like, "Girl, we know what you're missing." And
Monty?
I was like, "Yeah,
Okay.
thank you, Monty, for the content, I guess." But yeah,
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 okay.
with Monty,
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Last year was his strongest year for sure. Um,
Mhm.
so
But yeah, like specifically with tonight, like you get the brink deflection, that's
mhm,
hard.
mhm.
You get that York power play goal, like the whole penalty kill unit got fooled by just like doing that kind of like fade and then back to York. And again, it could have been better because it was from like mid range. Um, and then the brink power play goal to make it 3-0 was like I think it was Carrier just like in front, just completely lost Brink. Like it was I think Cates and Brink in front of the net, and then it was Carrier and I forget the other defenseman, but basically they just both focused on Cates, and
If it
then
was
Brink just got to
Carey,
that
then it
side of the
must
net.
have been. If it was Carey, then it must have been Jack. Was this a power play goal? Sorry.
Yeah, it was power play.
Okay, never mind. Then I don't know
So
what the
I
hell it was
believe
there.
it was who's
Struble,
8?
8 Matheson. That's Mike Matheson.
Math.
Mike
Okay.
Matheson had his
Okay.
first bad game this season, I think, today. So that's
Yeah,
just
he kind of just
FYI.
got lost in no man's land, kind of like by the face-off dot. So I think it was on Carrier a lot of just like losing his man and Brink just being able to like, is he so small? It's like, oh, I'm just gonna go by the side of the net.
I'm just a little
Um,
guy.
yeah. So I think he was just able to get like kind of turn invisible for a second and then pop in and again it was like not an easy goal either for him. Um, so I would not blame Montembeault specifically like 100% of the reason why those goals went maybe like 50% for that second Brink goal, and then like that other ones were deflection. And sure, you should be get ready for that. And like, sure, your penalty kill unit in front of them kind of sucks. So like, I don't think it's goals that would let me blame the goalie and say like that was a bad game from him. Again, like you talked about that shot total, like it's just an insane amount of volume you have to deal with.
Mhm,
And then for stuff like that to happen, like deflections and penalty kills and on the power play too, just like generally being in that game situation,
mhm,
it's so much more difficult. So I would not put a whole lot of blame on Montembeault. Like, sure, he didn't stand on his head. Sure, he wasn't again prime Carey Price making 50 saves,
right.
shutouts. But
It's hard to ask that of someone.
yeah, exactly. Like he's not Ben Scrivens making 57 save shutouts or whatever. But yeah, the it's yeah, I wouldn't blame it on him at all. Like I don't think that could walk away from that game and be like, "Oh, Montembeault, we need to change that goalie right away." Again, maybe you can say that after this game and then the whole season,
Yeah.
but this game in a vacuum, I wouldn't say.
I would agree with that. I think I saw earlier, it was one of our earlier messages, the Zelvert word. Somebody said Monty still wasn't good enough. 3 goals on six. I need to try to enunciate. 3 goals on 6 shots is unacceptable. He said boys dug them out, and then Monty played lights out. But the way he starts games kills any momentum we have. Not getting good in the shootout too. I have a hard time caring about the shootout, frankly. Like I don't. That's neither here nor there. But what was said earlier about like the start, I think you know what? Let's look at this the other way. Let's look at this in a positive way. I am very happy with how Monty bounced back. And I think that is something that's been lacking this entire season. I don't know about you guys, and feel free to tell me in the chat if you disagree, but I don't know about you guys, but I saw a mental fragility in Sammy Montembeau this year that I haven't seen before. A certain amount of not being able to recover, which is something this guy was on the Habs team that was the first team to be 32nd in the league. I think this was the first year. Like this was it was a hard time for him, and he still managed to come back and all of that stuff. Um So Monty Monty's made it through mentally other stuff. I wonder if this time it's that there's real competition for the spot. Like there's actual competition. Caden Primo was never gonna steal that spot. Jake Allen and him were in a weird situation where it was like, are we not? Like who's the first, who's not? Like it was just a weird situation where it was neither were it felt less like one was trying to win a job and more just Marty was choosing a guy. Right? So like it was this is the first time that Monty has had competition. I was wondering if he was maybe struggling a little bit just from resetting. I don't know, off ice, I'm not saying anything about that. I'm saying just resetting after a bad sequence. Um Dobish is fun because I think he always looks like he's panicking. Something about the way he moves his body. And I'm like, do you know about where all your limbs are at any time, Jakob? Like, do you know? And I don't think he does. So that's it's not, I don't have a problem watching Dobesh do insane positive and negative stuff because I'm like, that's just how he plays. With Monty, when you like see him just not look himself, it's a little I get it. I get the goalie conversation. I just, as I said, have a hard time putting any of this on him, and that's just kind of what I wanted to get into. We can talk a little bit more about that in OT if you guys have anything to say. But I would like to move on to, a more positive conversation perhaps. Um and I will be as positive as I can. No, I'm going to be nice to him. I have to be nice to him. I have to remember that he's Cole Caulfield's friend. And every time I want to be mean to Cole Caulfield, I have to remember that Nick Suzuki would not like me being mean to Cole Caulfield. So therefore, Nick Suzuki would not like me being mean about Trevor Zegras. Okay, there we go. So, Trevor Zegras, question mark?
Yeah, I mean, he just does stuff that makes like again, it's so classic of like you weren't able to watch a whole lot of Anaheim Ducks games when like and it was just a miserable experience watching those teams anyways, even if you were staying up late on the East Coast, but like you would catch the highlights of him like going viral or whatever. Um and to see that on your team and to see him regularly pull like try stuff on like every shift and just be present. And I think he's improved from his Anaheim days of like just being able to be more conscientious of possession.
Mhm,
And tonight it was kind of an example of that, of like making those two really key plays, um, and not really giving up on a whole lot of like forechecking possibilities or potential of trading more on the rush or more in possession. And
mhm.
Rick Talk has preached kind of since training camp, basically tired of not being so much of a rush based game of like
Yeah.
controlling possession and actually like having second and third chances. And
Mhm,
having a player like Zegers on your team makes those second and third chances just so much more possible.
mhm,
Um, and you saw that kind of like, especially on the power play, again, like second and third chances on the power play are much easier, obviously,
mhm.
but just the way that he was able to recover the puck and then go across the ice and kind of team up with his also fellow best buddy from the program, Cam York.
Cam York.
Um,
I will
to
sorry, by the
yeah,
way, every time I hear his name, I think of that. You know which
Yam Cork.
yeah. I no,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I think of that video from a bar. I think it was Cam York, was it? Um
That might have
where
been our draft party, Broad Street Hockey's where like everyone freaked the hell out because it wasn't Caulfield.
yes, yes.
Yep.
That
Yep.
was you guys.
That was
That was
us. That
you
was
guys.
us.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was a bar and everyone wanted the small goals boy and we were chanting Wisconsin and stuff and everyone
Listen.
wanted him and then it was like from the US NDP we're like oh and then Cam York, you're like, what the
Yeah.
fuck, who that? Who's that? But
But hey,
yeah,
it seems like it's working out, question mark. I don't know what's happening there. I'll be honest.
I mean there's so many. It's so funny between the Flyers and Avs where it's like there were so many draft potential
Yes.
possibilities or whatever. But the whole York Caulfield thing, Flyer fans would like hated that pick from the start, and they still compare him to Caulfield a whole lot. Like it would be better to have a 30 goal now. But this season he's played really well. Like honestly, like he hated John Tortorella. He's basically the reason. I don't know if this left Philadelphia, but he's basically the reason John Tortorella got fired. Like he's the player that actually stood up to John Tortorella and was
I
like,
do
"No, I'm not
remember
taking any
this.
of your
I do
crap."
remember
Yeah,
hearing about this. Yeah.
so that was Cam York, and like him at 23 doing that was great. But so
It's good to have a
it's
leader that young in a team, I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
Yeah. Let's put it that
But
way.
yeah, so like Rick Tocchet also like talked up a lot about him, and we were hoping that he would have more of a role offensively because of course that was what he was in the program. Like he was this power play guy playing with Zegers and Caulfield and stuff like
Hmm.
that. Um, so and racking up the points. And he just hasn't been, but he's developed into a very solid defensive. Like
Hmm.
I don't know if I could even like he's kind of Mike Matheson coded, like where you like see his tools and be like, oh, he's like this crazy fast, like cool, great skate or whatever, laterally or whatever. And then like you look at his numbers by the end of the day, be like, oh, he suppressed like shots really well. I don't know if that's like a good
No, that
comparison, but
I think that
trying to think
dare
of a Habs defenseman that
dare I say goalie coded perhaps even a little bit.
I don't think he's that good defense.
I don't.
Like, I know I like Cade Goulet. Um, yeah, I don't know.
No, I
Like,
think it's
I
I
couldn't.
hear you. I hear you. I think that's a
Yeah,
really interesting kind of because it's disappointing, right? Like it is disappointing because everybody wants offense out of your defense. Also, thank you,
right.
Vaguely Somewhere, for the Avs updates. Appreciate that. Um appreciate all that. Thank you. Yeah, I think but those guys are important. Like they really
Mhm.
are. You don't like
Oh, he's great. Yeah,
you can't win without a defensive defenseman doing defensive things, right? With Mike
yeah. He just doesn't
Matheson,
look like it.
really,
Well, he just
what's the
doesn't.
thing?
He's like he's 6 foot, not tall.
Mm,
He's not like this like crazy like big. Like Gooley's tall, so you could kind of see the whole like toolkit in front of him. But
hmm.
York just like has these results that have just been so impressive, and like him and Stan have been like one of the best pairings in the league, like when it comes to expected goals. For dating back to last season, and they're just like two awkward kind of guys. Like Sandheim looks massive, but he's so good on the rush, like,
Yeah,
and he doesn't really use his body at all.
yeah.
Um, so like it's just two kind of awkward players where like it's not very Philly hockey where like you need to bat someone over the head of what type of player you are. Like, oh,
Yeah,
Eric Lindros, big scoring guy.
yeah,
Wayne Simmons, big net front. That's all you do. Like
yeah, yeah.
Scott Hartnell, you fall down a lot and you score goals. Um, like it's very like they have to fit into their archetypes, and York and Sandheim don't do that at all.
Mhm.
So they've taken a while to like come around, but this season from York has just been he's looks so much calmer and stuff. And I think having Zegers there and like him, Zegers and Drysdale all kind of just hang out together. Like they
Mhm.
basically like during the whole summer, they were basically hanging out the like entire summer
Yeah, they're buds.
together. Like obviously Cam York being from California and then them playing in Anaheim, they would always hang out there too before. Um so yeah, so I think it's just like a more comfortability, and I think Zegers obviously just being more creative and creating space um helps that whole system work and that whole offense. And um yeah, I think it's just like generally there's a lot of positive things to come from the Flyers young players, like the early 20s, mid 20s, under 25 group that they have right now. And honestly, my favorite player of that group didn't even play tonight in Tyson Forrester. But it's positive signs of something more to come. Um,
Which is
that
actually really
will eventually.
interesting, talking about kind of the life cycles of teams, which we'll be getting to in the third period. So that's actually very, very interesting. I'll be completely honest, I don't really know much about the Flyers. Um,
I'm here.
because I don't like the Metro is just such a dead zone to me in terms of I just don't find much there that I watch I
I mean, if there's a division with like the 2020 Flyers, Blue Jackets, Islanders,
yeah,
Rangers, like
yeah.
you're not watching. Like, so
Yeah,
I'm
yeah. I'm keeping a semi eye on it because the Pens are in the Metro, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm waiting for them to start losing. Please start doing that. And the Habs need to keep winning. There's a certain
Well, I
correlation.
yeah, there's a certain player that kind of might
There-
come home.
yeah, there's a
Oh man,
come on, baby. But for me, it's okay. Zegras genuinely is just such an interesting player for me to watch. I do have a, I do have a close friend who, at the time when Zegers was still in Anaheim, it was always the bit that I would always go after them was, oh, like you mean future Montreal Canadian, Trevor Zegras? And then I also did it with Mason Marchment, so it didn't either way. It didn't work out. More just do it to fuck around with them. Um, but yeah, Zegras is an entertaining player, and it's fun to watch him play hockey sometimes. And I will say
Right.
that. And I'm gonna move on because now we can talk a little bit about what the really exciting guy, and again, I think he's really been unlocked offensively now, Ivan Demidov. Um, you're starting to see him. He loves that cross ice pass. Like he loves that. He loves that fake. And he does it very well, so I don't blame him for loving it. But then you also see on his goal that he can shoot it too. Um, I've it just seems like this guy is um constantly improving. And it's really impressive to see, like him and Lane Hudson apparently are road roommates. So I'm sure all they do is talk hockey constantly.
So
It's very cute and it's also very funny. And it's also kind of concerning because I'm like, we gotta absolutely, confiscate their skates at some point, guys. You can't be on ice all the time. Come
yeah,
on.
don't they spend hours after practice together?
Yes,
Like
yes.
because they don't have families, obviously. Like all the guys, like Brendan Gallagher's not like hanging out after
I
like
actually do
spending
think
an hour
Lane
away.
Hudson's mom is in Montreal, so that's very funny.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, but they
So
don't
yeah,
have
it's just
like, yeah,
anytime.
they don't have
Yeah,
partners and children.
yeah, yeah. To
But
worry about.
yeah, they're like, and it's just very funny to me. And like there's gotta be something that we can do here. Yeah, but it's just such a man. I feel so lucky to have this guy on our team. As we know, the year before, in that draft, a certain someone had been passed over by the Habs, um, for certain reasons, reasons that may or may not be true. Um, but that was a whole thing that happened. Um, you know, apparently Iwan Demidov was kind of in the Habs like uh eyes. Um, in their mind, on their mind, whatever. Uh, even back then, but it was so so cool to see him fall like that. Well, not to fall like that, to fall like that to us. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, I
in the
I don't
draft.
appreciate it. I wasn't expecting and enjoying a downfall. I was expecting and enjoying him falling to us. Um, and it all happened so quickly, man. That was before I get started before I just keep talking in circles about how cool I think he is and how lucky I feel to watch Ivan Demidov play hockey, what have your impressions been of what you've seen?
He's just unreal. Like honestly, like it's easy as an outsider to chirp on has hyping up players because
Yeah,
it's hockey mecca.
yeah.
It's it's a marketplace and a online space where they obsess about every little prospect. Like Oliver Kapanen is like the biggest like oh my god, what is he doing? Michael Hage, like what is he doing? Owen Beck, like oh my god, what is he doing? And excuse me, but like I got a little choked up thinking about
Well,
Has
just
prospects, but
yeah, you feel like
yeah,
crying when you think
but
about Michael Higgs. Me too.
yeah, yeah, but like it's it's very fun just to make fun of like the hype, like
Yeah.
and
We're
look
very easy to bait.
look
We're very easy to bait.
yeah,
It's
like
fine.
look at like the Habs Reddit account, whatever on Twitter, like hype up like Demidov at practice. I'm like,
You know
okay, dude,
what?
like
You know what?
that happens to every team. Like Bitchkov's doing like crazy shit all practice, but we're not like tweeting it out and
I
like
would
going
s
crazy.
I would simply tweet about it if I were you. That's a skill
I mean,
issue.
yeah, but that's also the same thing about like, yeah, if I had that player, if I had that stuff, I would be tweeting about it too. That shows a crazy hockey market.
Yeah.
Like the Dallas Stars have no one showing up to practice, so like people aren't going crazy about like what Ranson is doing at practice or whatever. Or like
Judas.
Wyatt
But right
Johnson
now,
or something.
right.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so like it's just it's very easy to poke fun, but at the same time Demidov's such a special player, and I wanted him so badly to like. I like him, and
Mm.
as a Michkov defender, I wanted him so badly to stutter a little bit. And
Mhm.
like Michkov came out of the gates last year like crazy. She was scoring on the power play, like whatever, like going nuts, over a point
He
per
had a
game,
very
like
good start,
Demidov
yeah.
is. Yeah. From there, it's questionable, but I was feeling the same way about like Michkov as I'm sure a lot of you are playing or Demidov, but like I feel like Demidov, his toolkit, his physicality, his just approach to the game is much more
He likes
um
mucking it up, eh? He
yeah, like
seems to enjoy
it's
that.
yeah, it's just like it's much more projectable and to potentially be a lot more of a consistent player than Michkov. The highs might be different. Like Michkov at his highs, like might be like Kucherov plus, like just like tearing up everyone offensively with his passes and his ability to shoot. But Demidov is just like such a smooth player where like he could play a bit more peripherally, but it doesn't really matter because he has a skill to overcome that. And I might be talking like I Montreal people that like actually watch this game a whole lot be like, "Oh, he's not a peripheral player." I'm sorry if I say that, if I say something wrong, but that's my impression. Um,
It's
right
fine. I
now,
can't expect
anyways.
you to be watching
Yeah,
when
but
he starts constantly being on the highlight reels, then I'll at you.
yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you. But yeah, I my impression right now is that he's a special player. I'm kind of wait and see to like crown him as like the next best like Russian superstar.
Mhm.
But I love watching him and I love watching what he does. It's almost like he makes stuff look super easy. Like he loves those crossover kind of like and deeks and like it's nothing. There's nothing jittery about him with Michkov. It's like it's very much like if he's stick cleaning through the zone, it's like not panicked, but at a much higher like pace, like because he
Yeah.
has to think. It's like a little bit like he wants to deceive more. Where Demidov is just so confident that's just like
I think what happens with Demidov is that he's good at, and I don't know what the situation is in Michkov at
mhm,
all. But with Demidov, he's very good at playing with players around him. He is
okay, yeah,
very good at like being aware. Obviously that's easy when you have guys like Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield and Juraj Slavkovsky playing. But he's also able to keep up with some of the less talented guys. So that's something I've been really enjoying about him is that I think he thinks the game in a way that's really exciting from such a young guy, you know? It's just I think and Marty talks about people's like players' computers a lot, like and how they think. Um and that's something I was again, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. I, it's the what I'm pleasantly like shocked about, I think, with Demidov is I think he thinks the game in a very good way. And kind of separate conversation, but he's very good at not getting caught with hits. Yuri Slavkovsky, big
mm,
boy, was getting caught a
yeah.
lot more in his first year. That poor guy was getting caught. But Demidov just seems to know how to dodge them, so good for him.
Yeah, he just seems like he thinks the game at a high rate of just like again, like what I was saying, like he just looks so smooth that he doesn't even have to like quickly react to something. Like especially how his goal came out, like just like going down across the face-off dot and just being able to wire it and being confident that he can do that. It's something that you don't see a whole lot from rookies unless they're super like one of the best like ultra talented that are destined for stardom. So I think it's ultimately there's very good signs from Demidov. Again, wait and see of how the whole season plays out. I'm sure there'll be dips of him like not having a for 5 games here and there, but right now the signs are just like the NHL hasn't figured him out yet, and it's the same kind of thing with like Calder, competitor Matthew Schaefer of like he's just so aggressive,
Schaefer
which
is
is like
so
I
good. He's
like
so much
it's
fun.
just like, teams don't know how to deal with like a super like a player that skates better than Chris, but is like as aggressive as like Chris Chelios or like or Paul Coffey on like it's just insane of just how much he's like able to get to the net. But that's another conversation. Um, yeah, it's Demidov. Just
Matthew
I've
Shiver has me paying attention to the Islanders. Matthew Shiver and
it's
Jonathan Durant, I will
crazy.
tell you that.
It's
But
crazy.
ignore that.
I've
Let's
I've watched I've willingly watched like an Islander Blackhawk. I've willingly watched that, and I've watched Tony D'Angelo and
Man,
Scott Mayfield and like all these players that are so boring.
oh
Casey
man.
Zeke and stuff. And just to watch Schaefer, just to watch that guy. So, like
I've been keeping an eye
it
on Horvat, I think. There's
okay.
I think any
Are there rumors? Are there rumors
there's not rumors,
of
there's
Montreal?
wants. There's wants.
Okay.
He's definitely a guy who's been on the list. So,
You don't want JG Pajot? You don't want him
let
for
me
your
think about
QC?
that. Let me think about that a little bit. I'll get back to you in like
Yeah.
2 to 3 business days,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's been like I think Demidov has also just been a great kind of part of this team. Uh I asked you after I heard that you want to talk about Travis Degers. I was like, okay, well, whatever. Any other Flyers players that you want to talk about?
I'll touch on Bobby Brink very
Absolutely.
lightly.
Yes,
Obviously
that's who you wanted
he
to
has the
talk
two
about.
goals. Yeah,
Yes.
he is our own small goals boy.
Yeah.
He he's a player that has just like slowly developed into himself and being
Mhm.
super confident. Um, I don't know how much like Habs fans want to hear about this, but like he's basically on this line of Noah Cates and Tyson Forster forever, and like John Tortorella made it last year, and they've been dominant. Like it's I think don't forget the exact stats, but they're like 80% expected goals this season. Like it's nuts.
Yeah.
They control the play like crazy. Um, so then with Forster out injured, and he was out injured against he missed the Calgary game and then he missed tonight. Um, they separated Case and Brink, and it was kind of a worry of like, oh, can Brink hold his own or whatever? He scores
Mhm.
2 goals, and it's just like it's almost like a coming out, be like, I can hold my own line, I can do this, I can willingly not just be a complementary piece, I can be a type of player that
Oh, he's a
it
small
generates
guy.
my own offense. Yeah, he's very
Just a
small.
little guy. He's a little
He
guy.
literally looks like a child. Like I think he's 5'8". I like
He's
it's nuts.
five. He's 5'8".
Yeah, exactly 5'6". But he's gotten so much stronger, and it's so interesting of like you kind of love these stories, and I'm sure it's the same with like Suzuki and players that you've seen kind of grow into their early 20s and mid 20s of just like um eh, coming into the draft year, Bobby Brink's main thing that his skating was so bad. Like
Yeah.
he had all the shots and whatever, and even during his time at Denver, his skating was not great. But the Flyers have this obsession of drafting poor skaters and working on. And then Brink, like 2 weeks into the season, Brink was literally the fastest skater recorded the
Yeah.
year. Like it's his skating has improved so much where it's become a weapon of his, and like he's able to get pucks quicker. You saw that a lot of the goals, and like even on his power play goal, where he was able to get to the side of that quicker and lose Carrier.
Mhm.
Um, it's stuff like that where it's just like his reaction and being able to get used to NHL speed um, has made him so productive in a way that's like I feel like he's one of the most underrated players. And again, it's so like corny and annoying to have like, oh my, a player on my favorite team is super underrated nationally or whatever. But like no one really talks about Bobby Brink until like
Until
they
they got
talked about
dunked
him when
on.
he was yeah, no, exactly. Like they would talk about him when he was leading the NCAA in points, and but like they didn't know how this 5'8" guy was going to translate to the NHL, and like all
Yeah.
the prospects guys paid attention to him then, and then just kind of like forgot about him for a while, and then now he kind of showed up, um, with 5 goals already this season. So I think he's a player that has made the Flyers so much deeper on wing, and like honestly, and we've seen in trade rumors recently of like Owen Tippett, and he's and Brink's not the same player as Owen Tippett. He's not as fast. He's not as big, obviously, with Tippett being 6'2", and it's nice to have that size. But he's made a player like Tippett expendable, and now the
Yeah.
Flyers can use Tippett as a trade piece to potentially address their blue line issues. So Brink is just like ultimately become one of my favorite stories on this team of just like a guy that's gotten so much stronger, so much more confident, and like growing into his own. Where it's just
Mhm.
so nice to see him get rewarded with like 2 really nice, successful goals tonight,
Yeah. Yeah. You know what that
especially
almost reminds me of? And this is going to sound absolutely batshit crazy insane. Um, in a weird way, it's almost Slav-like to me because
yeah,
you're just,
expectation,
yeah,
whatever. Yeah,
expectation. And then I think he's been shielded almost, but also in a good way and also in a bit of a bad way by Lane Hudson coming in and being insane and Ivan Demidov, so far, living up to it. Um, it's he he's done what he's needed to do recently. Like it's been so good to see him play hockey. Like it brings me like actual joy because it just like that's honestly the kind of hockey I really like. Like I like big boy hockey, I really do. And because of that, like just seeing him be able to, which is hilarious because Nick's is one of my favorite players. He's not very big, but apparently he can hit. He showed us today he can hit. But it's been a pleasure to see that, and I think as the points are coming, like people are being forced to acknowledge it a little bit more. Um, yeah, I know that's kind of an insane comparison, but I hope you know kind of what I'm talking about in a weird way, you know?
Yeah, it's slowly coming to their own.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
slowly developing into the player that they were drafted to be, and I don't know if the Flyers envisioned this type of player in Brink and being able to score 20 goals potentially and be just a solid depth piece. Like I don't think he'll ever be a top six winger, but just because like there'll be players like Martone, Konechny, Michkov, just Enforcer, just automatically above him. So just to have a player like him feels like a luxury. And again, I don't think Flyers will like envision this path for him, but he's becoming this player that it's like the best case scenario of the
Mhm.
player. And I'm sure the best case scenario for Slav is like this like 35 goal scorer that like disrupts players in front of the net like crazy, and he might get there. But it's just like it's a slower process, and obviously Slav's
Exactly.
younger, but it's like it's not hitting expectations right away, but at the same time you're like seeing progress little by little at the same.
Yeah. It's also I think there's the aspect of people are paying attention and also not paying attention. You know what I mean? I think with Bobby Brink, because I follow some Philly fans, I hear about him, but I obviously not on a national basis. Okay. Speaking of, players coming into their own, me talking about Yuri Slafkovsky, recently drafted, relatively recent. Oh no, it's been 4 years actually. Not recently drafted. Holy shit.
Could I have a cool sorry, I have a cool
Yeah,
Bobby Brink stat.
yeah, absolutely.
Actually, no, just a fact. Do you know what his middle name is?
What?
Or he's Bobby Orbrink.
That is
Like that's his
so
actual middle name.
funny.
It's so hockey. It's so hockey fan.
I love
Yeah,
that by his
just wanted to
parents.
say that.
Honestly, I love that by his parents.
Yeah,
As I keep saying, Nick's first full name is Nicholas James Masaru Suzuki or Masaru James Suzuki, which is not as cool, but hey, it's very
you
fun.
know.
Um, you know, we love a boy who has a lot of I have a lot of names. Okay, this is a complete side story, but my full name is like so it's 4 names, right? Like,
Yeah.
and legally, it's more of a thing of like, because I was born in Pakistan, it's a whole different first name, last name, middle name situation there. So when I come to Canada, it's it's odd. I don't know why I started getting into this story. I think I was trying to talk myself out of the Nick Suzuki corner and then talk myself into this corner. Anyways, I do want to say thank you again to everybody who's watching the stream and sticking around. We're just having such a fun conversation that we're still in the second period, but hey, I'm enjoying it. I don't know about you. Uh, you can't say it on stream, so I'm holding you
Yep.
hostage, essentially, is what's happening here. Um, so we're gonna move on to our third segment in talk a little bit about a team's life cycle. I actually am really interested in this because I don't know what the hell the Flyers are. Um, so I'd love to know a little bit more about that. But before we get there, I do want to hand us over to one of our lovely sponsors, Les Saint Motel. And it will be Andrew if time's past telling you. I promise, guys, I will get involved in the ads at some point because last year they were a disaster, but I will get there. All right, bye. See you in a bit.
While you're browsing Inchu Bijou's goth shop, head next door and discover Montreal's most unique selfie studio. Whether you're looking to take some banger pics of your Halloween costume or cosplay, or you want to make some memories with friends, Le Saint Motel has you covered. Experience their bombastic decors that are always changing, hop in the ball pit, and take advantage of their extensive and flexible on-site lighting. Head to lesaintmotel.com to book your time in the studio, book private time where you and your friends will be the only ones allowed in, or book the space for an event. The dedicated, caring staff will make sure that you have a good time. I do have one warning for you before you book. If you have kids, they won't want to leave. Whether you're at the St. Motel or in Chubiju, tell them Game Over sent you.
We are so back. So I am. How do I always do this? I had a whole minute, like 30 seconds to change our overlay, and yet I did not. But here we are. I am simply but a girl. But hello. We are back to talk about what the hell are the Flyers? Because I know what the hell the Canadians are. I have. I'm not even like messing with you right now. I have no idea what the Flyers are doing. What are they doing? Please tell me. I'm scared.
Okay, here's the timeline.
Okay.
So Danny Briere came, Habs legend Danny Briere, became GM about 2 years ago. And then he said the dreaded word rebuild. So basically since then, they've been slowly. It's not a Habs way of like trading away already. If Briere was in charge of that rebuild, like the key guys would have stuck around.
Yeah.
Um, that's kind of what they're trying to do. Of like they
Like a
kept connecting.
soft rebuild?
Yeah, like it's not completely tear it down. They don't want to touch that, and I think that's honestly smart because that doesn't work. You always become the quickly turn around team. You need some base. Like imagine if like the Habs just suddenly had like Slavkovsky and Demidov, but like no Suzuki, no Caulfield, no like it's just Hudson and Demidov running around like they do at practice, and then a bunch of like Kaden Goulies or like
Yeah.
second rounders guys.
Yeah.
Like so it's what they're trying to do is establish a baseline,
Mhm.
and they have players that are sticking around like Couture, their captain, and like I said, saying I'm in company, and then like Nick Steeler's hanging around or whatever.
I'm
Just
very interested in
have some.
Konechny, by the way. I have like
Yeah,
I've
he
heard
sucked this year.
that's
He's
been my
really bad this year.
question. I'm like the way that Nick Suzuki stonks for Team Canada are rising, it feels like
Yeah,
it's going the opposite way there. What I okay, I'll
he
ask you more in the overtime segment about
yeah
him, but
he's
yeah.
I'll say right now he's not making Team Canada like that. He lost his position, so bad just kind of started. But like he has the points, but his play is just terrible. But the
Yes.
Flyers are approaching each season as like they are fine without whatever outcome happens.
Mhm.
They're not looking to tank. They're not looking to have top 5 picks all the time. They're not aiming to make the playoffs either. So that a vacuum is like, oh no, you're just looking for a mushy middle team.
Yeah.
But they have enough young talent. Like I've listed, they're under 25 guys. Like York Zegras now is still under 25.
It's
York,
crazy. I feel like I've been
Drysdale.
hearing about him for
I
like
know,
20,000
I know,
years.
right?
Like that poor guy,
Yeah.
I
So
feel like
like
he's been in Anaheim for at least 8 years.
I know, right? So yeah, like their under 25 core is like I would say very good, like top half of the league, definitely. York, Drysdale, you have Forster, Brink, Tippett is 26, I believe, so that's around. Obviously Mitchkov.
Mhm.
Like there's a lot of players that are very solid, but there's nothing of like at the top. Like a Mitchkov as your future like one first line guy,
Yeah.
definitely. And then a bunch of players that will can serve middle six, second pairing, complementary roles on cup contending teams. So like they're doing this kind of process of getting talent, but then not like the high end talent that they sometimes need.
Mhm.
Obviously, they have Porter Martone coming, which I loved that pick.
Yeah.
Um, he's been great at Michigan State. It's like they're slowly just like getting these picks, seeing what comes of it.
Like
Like
the
even the Jet
trickling in, I
Luchenko.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah, like the Jet Luchenko pick is very controversial. Because Zeev Buium, who's like heralded like crazy, he was there, and the Flyers said no, thank you. Basically, like they literally traded away from the pick and then just handed him to Minnesota. Um, so it's there's some controversial and confusing draft decisions that they've made.
Yeah.
But it's ultimately of just like they're doing it their own way about creating this foundation and creating the team that they have already,
Yeah.
and then like seeing what shakes out. Basically, like they I think they're getting as much like they're getting as much talent and as much like capital and like prospect assets that they can, and then eventually they'll like potentially make a big splash and get that one first line center that they don't even have in the prospect pool, or get that like Zach Werenski becomes a free agent in 2 years. Like, are they just going to go crazy in Columbus? Like, I think they're going to be a big player of like, we just need someone to fill this role, and we could get that in free agency or trade for it because we have all these prospects that we've picked like crazy for the last few years. It's kind of like the Habs that way. Like now,
There's a trickle.
I
There's
think
definitely a
I
trickle
think
of prospects
exactly. Like
now.
I think in 2 years they can make that Dobson
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Like I think in 2 or 3 years they could do that, and
Mhm.
then you have your Jet Luchenko is like one of my Flyers fans hate him just because he's associated with the William not selection.
So Ryan Bucker behavior.
Basically, but in his own, he's a very good player. He just like it's also hard because, and I'm going on. Sorry, so
No.
like,
I asked a
there's
very open-ended question for a reason.
yeah. The Jet Luchenko, like Tortorella needed a center last year, and this is going like at the beginning of last year, and at 18 years old, like he has an August birthday, like he literally turned 18
Yeah,
just
a
before
baby.
training camp.
Yeah.
And he made the team out of camp and played 4 games, and so that kind of put the expectation a little bit higher than where he should be because
Mhm.
he's mostly like a two-way center that's in the OHL. And
Yeah.
he's back in the OHL again, so people are saying like, oh, he's a disappointment or whatever. But I see him as like a Nick Suzuki kind of like,
Yeah.
and it's so funny that because he said the first player that he's always mentioned whenever asked about who he wants to model his game after is Suzuki. Like this like kind of
I love him now. That's my
yeah.
that's my
So
child now.
he's also he's a London guy too. Like Suzuki's
Yeah.
from London.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
he's born and bred in London as well. Same with Travis as well, whatever. I see him kind of like that, and he's going to be in his draft plus 2 year, and he's more again like a more playmaker, exactly like he wants his 90-point season to be 85 assists, type of player. So I love that for him. But I see the pieces there to have this team be very competitive and interesting.
Mhm.
But right now they're kind of like floating around and being better than they should be, and kind of just like they hired Talkett, which is kind of an interesting hire because it's not necessarily forward thinking or like thinking long term.
Mhm.
Talkett has handled this team, and especially Mitchkov specifically, handled this team like they are expected to compete for the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
Like he will bench Mitchkov because he has a bad shift.
Yeah.
Where like Tortorella and the like hard-nosed Tortorella that has garnered that reputation, when he was in Philly, he was much more like lenient with all these
Yeah.
players' responsibilities.
Fun
He was
fact,
willing
like
to
Marty is
yeah.
constantly referring to Torts because that's apparently
That's
they have
interesting.
a very they listen to each other. So that's very interesting because you wouldn't make that
Well,
comparison usually.
no, that's funny. And like I wanted them. I think I wrote an article actually for Brush Hockey, like when they're
Mhm.
hiring their coach, they're searching for a coach. I wanted them to hire like a St. Louis type,
Mhm.
like of like I've only coached my kids' team, kind of like I've only coached high school hockey or something like that.
Yeah.
I wanted them to do like someone that's not afraid to make mistakes, and Talkett is much more like a career coach, so
He's
he's always
coaching to
thinking about
win.
his next job.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's coaching to win, and he's coaching to like I don't want to look bad, so that when I'm eventually fired from here, I could get another job, basically. Like
Yeah.
that career coach of like Alain Vigneault, like Peter Laviolette, like these types of coaches where like
He's
they
like on his
will
resume
are
builder
always thinking
journey.
exactly.
He's on LinkedIn.
So yeah, so it's just he's handling this team in a completely different way, and it's just like it's there are things that are coming up that are ugly of like his teams have consistently finished like bottom 3 in shots per game, the same this year for the Flyers. So
You
it's just
wouldn't
like
think that with the way this game went.
no, exactly. This is not a good Flyers like typical Flyers game. So yeah, so it's been an interesting journey, and I think like Habs fans can kind of relate to having this foundation of young players, 22-year-olds, and players that you could see be like the veterans on the next great team,
Mhm.
and then like you see them develop and add more. They'll add Mitchkov, they'll add Martone, they'll probably finish bottom 10 this year again, and they'll draft another player that will be their Demidov or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's obviously not that good, but like like that kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
timeline. So
Yeah.
they're just like I see them as like 3-4 years behind Montreal, but like not trying to completely bottom out and completely like sell off all these assets and
Yeah,
have connections
nobody's
and muscle around.
Blackhawksing here. Like nobody's,
No,
yeah.
exactly.
And I think that's the okay, so that's interesting. That kind of reframes it in my head because I just to me, it just I don't know what I thought about the Flyers. I think I thought that the Flyers just like I think it's one of those I don't think about the Flyers moments.
Well, I could totally see from the outside like them like the thoughts that I have about the Islanders never wanting to be bad, like
Hmm.
making the Borholvat trade and all this stuff, like them always wanting to keep this level of like mediocrity is what the Flyers were
Hmm.
under Chuck Fletcher and stuff like that, like making the Ristolainen trade, trading a first round pick, 14th overall for Ristolainen, um,
Yeah, yeah, haha,
doing
yeah.
that just to like save your job and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, it's I could see that idea consistently like continuing, but
Hmm.
they've kind of just been under the radar of like we're rebuilding, we're getting top 10 picks, we're obviously got Mitch Cobb, but then we're slowly like
Trying
I
to
think I
get a
think
little.
the real expectation starts when Martone comes here just because I love him so much. I think that's when you're really gonna see a lot more of the potential
Hmm.
and like potential top sixers, like once you see Zegras and Mitch Cobb and Martone playing together or something like that. Like I think there's a path forward where in 2 years we're talking about Flyers like we talked about the Habs last year, kind of thing. Like oh, they're a fun, exciting team. Maybe not playing as fast as they were, but they have all these pieces. They're suddenly like getting a lot more attention than they were. It's not like if you're just scrolling around, you're actually interested in watching them. Like I think they're eventually going to become that upstart, like dark horse. Oh, I
Yeah,
picked them to make the playoffs kind of team.
yeah.
Not right now, but I could see that happening in a few years.
So that's really, again, that's really interesting because so I feel like the Habs for a while tried getting away with a lot of that, not a rebuild, but a rebuild, or honestly, not even a rebuild. It was always just poor. I think there's this curse sometimes of having a really good player, which isn't a curse, but it's kind of is. Like in, for example, the Carey Price era, you were never
Mm,
going to rebuild with Carey Price. Honestly, to some extent, when you had Shea Weber, you were never going to rebuild with Shea Weber on your team. It was just a situation where there was quote unquote not an appetite for it, right?
mhm,
So I think the Habs really just bottomed out when they bottomed out, there was no um actually, funnily enough, funny is not necessarily the right word for it, but that is the year that Bergevin got fired was the year of the Mayu pick.
okay,
So there was a
right,
lot happening around that time that
yeah,
I think he was I personally believe, and I'm not saying anything about the ethics of the organization. I think that the sponsors put a lot of pressure on. That is one of the things I'm actually very proud
mm,
of the sponsors for is there was a lot of pressure on the Habs after that pick, which all sponsors should do for all teams who do that kind of thing. So, good for them. I think Bergevin was on the hot seat for a lot of different reasons, and we're just lucky that the new that Jeff Molson agreed to a rebuild. Like there's because it's hard to commit to something like that. But I think it helps that Ken Hughes never I don't think ever tried to like again Blackhawks it, right?
right,
Even I think just because we got slapped the year before Bedard, everybody was really mad about it. Everybody was really mad about every single game that was won. And I was like, I just simply don't believe in that kind of teardown.
mhm.
I just don't think it
No,
works. I think it's poison culture-wise. Like I don't think it works. I think only now is Connor Bedard starting to like get anywhere, you know, that's relative because he's a very good player, but you know what I mean? Like in terms of just a team forward way. Because
yeah,
now he has like people to play next to. Nick Suzuki okay, so it's a bit of a special case because the Habs were like very injured for 2 years in a row. Where Nick Suzuki, get ready to speak playing 30 minutes a night for a team that's not even
Right.
trying to win, like kind of win, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um, but they never, I don't think they ever did it on purpose in terms of, yes, Trigga says Connor Bedard might start enjoying life soon.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
which is exactly, and like you really didn't need to do that to your boy, right? Like you really didn't. Um, so that's what I really appreciate about that. I feel like it's rebuilding the right way, which is such an old hockey guy thing to say. But like I mean it. I really do. I think there is such thing as you're trying to take a shortcut. I was gonna say a shark cut, which Freudian slip, I guess.
There you go. But yeah, like I think it's interesting because it also comes to draft strategy too. Because like you could find players that are very very talented and contribute in their own ways to winning hockey games just as much as Bedard
Yeah,
potentially do. That might be a hot take or whatever, but like Bedard, he's a little bit of a defensive black hole. So if you're talking about a player like a Wyatt Johnson later on, or a like you're talking about players that are drafted 15, 20, like Matt Boldy or whatever. Like you're talking about players that I see in their early 20s, and suddenly these players that are drafted 15 to 20 to 25 overall of from teams that are playoff teams or want to stay competitive but just had a bad year, that they're developed well, and they're able to come into situations that aren't tire fires. They're not dependent on to be
exactly.
completely players. They can be like Slavkovsky now,
Hmm.
where they're not crazy dependent on to be that star.
Hmm.
I think that's incredibly important to surround players like with that. And it's so funny in the Flyers case because they were so close to bottoming out.
Yeah,
Um, it's they were so close in that sense of Chuck Fletcher almost traded Travis Sand. Well, they actually had a trade for Travis Sanheim to go to St. Louis for Torrey Krug. Torrey Krug said no. So
thank
Torrey
you.
Krug basically saved the
Thank you,
Flyers from
Terry Krug.
Blackhawksing. Yeah. So and now Krug's like retired. Now
Yeah.
he doesn't play. So like literally the Flyers would be absolutely nowhere without Sanheim on the blue line. Like it'd be like a underdeveloped Cam York and like I
And
don't
you're
know
setting
who
him up
else.
for failure there. Like you really are.
Yeah.
You with the defensemen, you need to give them time. It's not a
Yeah.
fun place to be, especially
But
if, like you
it's
said, the coach is trying to coach to win, you know?
yeah.
Um, there was a
It's
time
this
where it was
like
just a completely young blue line on the Habs
mhm,
too, but they weren't really trying to win at that point. So I totally hear you in terms of just uh thank you, Krug, for saving for saving the
yeah.
Philadelphia
Like
Flyers.
if the Krug trade happened, then like Konecny was up for a contract and he probably wouldn't like they'd probably trade him by then. And like you're talking about this trickle down effect of like suddenly you're talking about a Flyers team that is completely bottoming out.
Mhm.
Their Couturier could be like I think he was injured at the time. He was basically took 2 years off from hockey to recover from his back surgery. So like you're talking about a team that would suddenly just like completely bottom out. Sure, they could get talented players, but like again, there's not a whole lot of insulation there because connecting and Stan gone.
Yeah.
So it's the situation that it was so close to that happening, and now I think they're honestly on a better track for the rebuild because and this is something that we've kind of said on Broad Street Hockey and a lot of the time the Flyers fans say, but like you're looking at Mitchkov and Martone. These are players that could easily be top 3 on any class. Like you're talking
Yeah.
about Mitchkov obviously because he dropped it like for reasons. Whatever. And then Porter Martone, like you don't find players with his size and like and ability to play make
Also a
and
great
if it's
name. Great name.
yeah, exactly. And like you don't find players like him like just like in the depths. It's because of teams looking for specific things like at the center position earlier on in the draft with Brady Martin and Caleb Donoye that they chose them over him. But Martin just being a winger, you don't find players that are like 6'4" and can like handle the puck like anyone else. Like you get Blake Wheeler comparisons to him. You get uh like just big bodied Ryan Getzlaff on the wing. Like you
Yeah.
get big bodied playmaking winger. Um so it's players that the Flyers have now that are young enough to hope on that again, if they bottomed out, they could have got that talent level anyway. So it's just a thing that like I think that they're doing it kind of the right way,
Yeah.
like you said, and we'll see from here on with Talkit. But it's just really interesting of how they are approaching this season, and Mitchkov isn't playing very well at all. So that doesn't help. But yeah, it's an interesting start at least. Like I don't.
It's definitely a really weird start around the entire league, I think I would say.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, you have like the Avs on the top, which isn't surprising, but then you have the Habs near the top, and that is
yeah.
surprising, right? Like, there's definitely a lot of weirdness going. The Pens doing as well as they are. The Isles were
Mm.
somewhat good for a little bit, and now they're not again. So there's been some interesting stuff, I think, this season. Um, I know you wanted to be defend Mishkov a little bit here, and I'm
I
gonna let you
mean,
or clear the record. Clear the like
I just want
record
to
on.
say, Flyers fans that are obsessed with Demidov and comparing Mitchkov to Demidov is not all of us. There's an obsession of, and this comes from Habs fans too, an obsession of comparing them. We
Yeah,
can just enjoy that they're two very skilled young players, and it is very interesting to me of Habs fans being so strong about this when the Flyers didn't even have a chance to. If they had a chance to draft Demidov and they
yeah,
passed on it, I would get it.
yeah,
But they didn't even have a chance to do that. So
yeah,
I don't understand the like. I it might just be the reaction from Flyers fans gloating for
yeah,
like an entire year
yeah.
when like Mitchkov was scoring
I
60
think it's a
points or
cycle.
whatever.
I think it's a cycle here,
Yeah,
frankly, and I think like listen, don't want to get into any of the rumors because obviously we don't know anything, right? I think for whatever reason, Mishkov fell. He's a Flyer now, right? That is
yeah.
simply the fact of it. Whatever reason Demidov fell, he's a Hab now, right? To me, these are things that are just like not. We can have our toy, guys. Let's just enjoy our boy, and it's
Yeah.
okay. It doesn't need to be a competition. Um, and frankly, like this used to happen a little bit with Wright before he just completely had
Oh right.
a
Yeah.
different move in his career, I guess, or the
Mhm.
way it's going. Let's just put it that way. Sorry, I feel like that came out way more shady than if I just said the thing. But you know, like it used to happen a little bit of like watching and like gloating a little bit, and it doesn't
Mhm.
we have a lot of exciting things to focus on right now. We don't need to be looking at Michkov's time on ice or all of these things. It's just I know it's in the nature of sports fans, so like nobody's gonna stop it. Like it's not, especially not from
No.
me
Yeah.
telling them to stop it. But like it just seems so strange to me. But I guess as a hater, it's also it makes sense. So there's two wolves
I mean,
inside
yeah.
of
Like
you.
it's
One
fun.
says
It's
not.
so
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so fun to like if you have the opportunity to hate. Like I enjoyed watching the Habs. I enjoy them as a team. I love the city so much. Um, I I love everything about them. I love that like if you were to take like I would like if you're a Habs fan, you get to gloat that the entire NHL exists because of your team. Like straight up, you
Yeah.
could just say that. So I think you have enough of just
We
like
have
you could
enough.
just let yeah.
Okay.
You could just let
We can, yeah.
us just poke fun, but I
No,
don't
it's
but
if you're
if something
wondering, people
happens
are
to
a
the
lot
team
busier just fighting with Isles fans because they're being really weird about Dobson now. So it's funny because you think it'd be over Schaefer and like Schaefer versus Demidov, but it's more Isles fans being really weird about Dobson.
weird.
And trust
I
me,
mean,
I would say
the
it.
guy
I would
yeah,
say it. I would say it if I thought Habs fans were also being weird about the other way. I don't think
yeah.
this is. I think this is one of those things where I'm genuinely like, guys, we love Emil Heineman.
'Cause
It's
Islanders
fine.
fans hated him for like I've seen like they just said like he's terrible on both ends of the puck and stuff. It's
That's
like
your girlfriend you
the
didn't like, and now somebody else is
no,
dating her. It's
yeah, and like
fine.
the Habs don't need him to be perfect. That's the thing. Like he was the Islanders blue line, like that the hope.
Yeah.
Where like the Habs have him as just like a solidifier, a like an adult in the room, a young adult in the room. to like Hudson and then you have like Matheson going crazy and Carrier or whatever. But he was like a stabilizer at the top. Like he was that final puzzle piece. He
Yeah.
wasn't like everything and like anything. So I don't know.
Yeah, for Dobson, I think he's just kind of, like you said, a puzzle piece rather than the centerpiece because I
Mhm.
think Noah Dobson knows, and I hope he knows, and I bet he knows, he is not getting a power play one at like
Right. Yeah.
assignment. He's just not because that is Lane Hudson's spot. Um, and that's okay. He just can focus on other things. For example, Matheson and Dobson have had such good results in a way that like none of us expected. You know how like a coach will put together a line or a pairing and you're like, this is gonna be hell on earth, and it actually ends up kind of like, okay, let him cook, right? Like this is one of those defense pairs. Now I don't, as I said, I don't think it's feasible for Mike Matheson to continue playing 17,000 minutes on the PK at all
Mhm.
times. It's just not personally something that I would do if I were Marty. Um, it's funny because now we have Jake Evans playing 5 minutes and 20 seconds of random time. So those are two different things.
Perfect.
I think getting the defense pairings a little bit figured out. Um, which, by the way, again, I'd like to say I think Struble had a great game. I think Jaden Struble has been incredibly steady. I don't think Arbor had a bad game by any means. But just for comparing the two, because they are both the potential, when Goulet is back, the guy who gets cut. So I thought, did you happen to notice either one of them other than the fight?
Not really, honestly.
47. Fair enough. Fair enough. I think
Yeah,
I think with a
I
third
like
pairing
a
defenseman,
little
that's
bit,
what you
but
want. A third pairing
no,
defenseman, that's
exactly.
exactly what you
Yeah.
want. You don't want them to be noticed, right?
Yeah. Well, our third pair is Zamula and Noah Juleson. So or no, it's Imam, but
Noah
yeah,
Juleson, the
Noah
Habs
Juleson's there.
legend.
Just
Habs
yep,
legend.
exactly. You know,
I am familiar
Dvorak
with
and
his
Julesson.
game.
Yep, it's the fun.
Man, Christian Dvorak, seeing the amount of minutes he played is very funny to me. I'm seeing him right
He was
now.
playing with Mitch Cobb. He's literally playing with Mitch Cobb and Zegras. Like that's
That
like
is
he's the responsible dad on that line.
it's
Crazy.
incredibly funny. Okay, guys, we're gonna move over to our overtime segment. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask them. My I'm I'm actually not feeling super well, so my mouth and my throat are constantly yelling at me, but you know I love talking, so that's not gonna stop. Hello, Bernardo. I was worried I hadn't seen you. Um, but yeah, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I'm just gonna ask questions. What can I ask questions about? Yeah, how's the Drysdale thing going?
Actually, very well this season.
Good.
So
I actually really
last
like
year,
that guy. I feel really bad for him, so I really want him to work out.
I know. Yeah, I loved watching him in Erie, and then like the whole thing with him is that he had the misfortune. I'm sure there's a player also. I can't think off the top of my head of like the exact year, on the Habs, but like he had the misfortune of his first year pro was COVID, so
Mm,
like there was no OHL going on,
yeah,
so it was just like okay, you're playing in the NHL, I guess, and then
yeah.
you're playing at the AHL at 18 years old, like with all these like top prospects also. Um, so it's just like Drysdale had his development stuttered and like all this hype around him, just wasn't able to develop well in Anaheim, do all these things, and then he got injured and all this stuff, and then came to Philly as the kind of centerpiece for Cutter Gauthier. It's just like a
And that's a
complicated
hard
deal.
thing to get into anyways. That's a
Yeah,
you're
especially this
just
season where he's like scoring every fucking goal ever. It's
yeah, no, that's
so it's
that's hard. That's hard. It's like the Jonathan Duran thing where it's like you're being sold as a center
right.
and also you're giving up Sergachev on the other side, right? It's not
Yeah.
your fault, but now you're just linked. You're linked. So what
It's
can you do?
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's the issue of that and the slow build, and then last season it was just like just play, just be healthy, played
Yeah.
enough. He was injured a couple times, but it was just like that was the expectation last season, and he was honestly like there were times last season where I had no idea what he was going to do with the puck. Like there was very frustrating times on the ice and be like, I don't know why you made that decision. I don't know why you decided to make that pass. It was leading to nowhere. You were too aggressive on that pinch, like all this stuff. But this season, he's kind of really solidified as a smart player.
Mhm.
His decision making has improved immensely. His skating is still there, um, obviously, and like I think he is not thinking always just like being the most offensive guy,
Yeah.
but he's just become this all around player that I think you could depend on in all situations. Maybe not penalty kill, obviously, but like it's this player that you can see the vision that the Flyers had when they acquired him as just like he might not be the flashiest, he might not put up a bunch of points, he might not do this or that, but I think he's just like he's just there and always present and able to use his skating in efficient ways and smart ways. Um, I see that, and before I was like Drysdale should honestly be in the AHL last year. Like
Mhm.
it's this way of like I this expectation of him and him being labeled as the cutter return prevented further development
It's
like
hard.
minors. Um, but now I think his development has increased so much, and maybe it's Zegras being there as well. But yeah, I've re-followed in love with him from his draft year, and then he's just like a different player. It's almost like York-esque. Like
Yeah.
he's just a different player than what he's drafted for, but he's still such an impactful player in his own
Yeah.
in a different.
Yeah. No, that's really good to hear. Just because I don't know, he's one of those players I have a weird soft spot for.
Mhm.
Just because I think it's a little even Doc like in the way that like a guy whose career is impacted highly by
Yeah,
injury.
yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to watch that. We do have a question for you in the chat, but also I want to give you a
Okay.
second. If you have any questions for me on the Habs, you can ask. But there's a question for you, which is how fun is it having Rick, the baldest man in history, talk it as a coach? How do you feel about
Well,
that hot
that's
that head, the
that head,
shiny
that
head?
hot head. It's fun. It's seeing it shine on the bench.
Under the bright
Seeing
arena
him.
lights.
Yeah, exactly. I think overall talk has been interesting. Bald head aside, it's like I said, like he wants to win. I think right now a lot of Flyers fans are worried that he's going to be way too serious about this almost like in a
Mhm.
way of like this isn't that like deep kind of approach. Like you
Yeah.
don't have to like live and die if like Rodrigo Abels is playing too many minutes or whatever. Um, that's a real guy, by the way. But
I'll take your word for it.
the
You could have made him up if
yeah,
you wanted. Yeah.
yeah, Latvian legend. Gonna be an Olympian probably, but
Oh yeah,
yeah,
brother.
it's I think he takes his like every shift so seriously. We'll see how it all kind of washes out, but right now it's kind of just like I don't know what he expected the Flyers to be or what the vision had. It's kind of just like waiting. Now it's like honestly waiting for the talent to get here that kind of outweighs like trying to coach like play Dvorak
Do you
second
think
line
there's
minutes, first
a
line minutes.
do you think there's a disconnect between what the front office wants and what he's giving?
Well, it's interesting because he was the first coach that they hired. Like Tortorella was here before Briere was, so like so they adopted Tortorella and they kind of agreed on like, okay, this is how we do things together now. So when he was fired, it was really interesting, like expecting what their first actual staff hire was going to be.
Yeah.
There might be disconnect. It might come down to like minor tweaks, but like you can't. The thing is, like all these people complaining about Mitchkov's ice time was like he's not played well. Like
Hmm.
that's the thing. Like he's not making the most of his ice time. He visibly looks like he's struggling, um, out of shape kind of, and he's just starting to get more into game shape now. Um, so it's things that is kind of just like wait and see, but it's like a lot of kind of Flyers fans right now are voicing their frustrations on like what they want to see right now, and but right now in front of them is the coach, so they're gonna start yelling.
Yeah.
Kind
Yeah.
of like I want to see Mitchkov play better, but Rick Tocchet's playing him only 15 minutes right now,
Yeah.
so it's like I'm gonna yell about that. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of putting blame on him where I it's leading to winning hockey, but it's like it's not exciting. It's
Yeah.
not like live and die, like run and gun kind of stuff. But
I'll tell you, the run and
Yeah.
gun stuff isn't always very good for your
Well,
heart.
exactly. Yeah, right.
It's not always
Like,
good for you. The
yeah,
Habs truly do keep me. This was one of those games where if I wasn't doing this, I wasn't sure I would have. Well, at the end of the first, that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, if I wasn't doing this, I would have turned it off. I was afraid of turning it on, frankly. Even like when they started doing better, I was like, this team, man, they just do not they do
yeah,
not do things easy. I would really That's something I'd really like to see going forward. Perhaps, please, 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 please hold a lead. Perhaps, maybe, kind of, just a little bit. Come on, don't be. Come on. I'm just begging. I'm begging here.
yeah.
I think it's the immature team thing that like
Mm,
it's everybody's always harping on that like it's a very immature team who just thinks that they can make it happen, and unfortunately they have the pieces that are just making it happen, but eventually that's going to stop. But I would also just real quick like to defend this team because they are not today. Let's not look at today's game, but they have been playing well statistically.
right.
The first line is one of the best in the league. Hands down, statistically, it has been one of the best in the league. Which is I used to pray for times like these again. Back when back when it was Josh Anderson next to Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield. That was an era, man. That was quite an era. Oh man. Also, Flyers fans are being mean, Bernardo. Stop it. They're being really mean to him. I mean, I
I mean,
get
yeah,
it.
they are.
I get it because you want like players to.
You
Obviously, it's
want more.
frustrating. It's frustrating,
Yeah.
right? I think that was a bit of a concern with second half Slav, of his first half Slav capable of showing
Mm.
up. So far seems pretty good, right? Like so far it's looking good, and I'm very proud of him. Um, and shout out to Nick Suzuki, by the way, for his longest ever career point streak. Uh, I was not concerned about him losing it today because again, we were playing the Flyers, and Nick Suzuki hates the Flyers and loves playing against them.
Well, yeah. I guess I have a question for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Long term, looking at this team, do you think they have already the players that teams need to compete for the Stanley Cup at like the top? Like, do they need to just fill in the rest? Like, do you think a team led by like Hudson, Suzuki, Caulfield, Slav, Demidov, that's your core? Like, and then you just fill in like with the Dobsons, and again, Dobson's a very good player, but like I'm looking at the depth chart. Obviously, you're not gonna have like Oliver Kapanen, third line center, when you're competing for the Stanley Cup. Like maybe if he
Surely,
develops
hope
further,
not. I
but like
hope not.
yeah, like Alex Newhook as your third. Like the depth's an issue. You're not competing for like crazy with the depth, and that's the playoffs are where your depth's exposed.
So
Um,
it's
but yeah,
odd.
do you think there's enough at the top, anyways? Like, do you think all they have to do is fill in that bottom, like get a couple more players to fill in, or do
Well,
you think like they should actually going out and get like look for that like Adrian Kempe just join this team, whatever, like a second line center that could be a first on another team.
I think that's what we're missing. The 2C.
Okay,
Again, Kirby Duck has looked great so far. But I do still hold my breath every time I see him get hit. Like that's simply just the reality of it. And which is unfortunate because when he's on his game, he's very, very good. Um, but I don't know if you can rely on him as your right now. Um, and that's not saying that Kirby Duck won't be on this team. I can honestly see him moving to the wing. I think he'd be a great
right,
winger. Like, but a 2C is very that's the big missing link. But as is, I'm pretty happy with the core of what the team has. I think they've built the big pieces and they're just filling in the blanks around them. There's a lot of depth in this prospect pool that we're just waiting. The AHL is that last spot that currently Joe Veleno is filling. The only reason he's filling that is because the good prospects that we have in the AHL should not have those minutes. They should have more minutes,
right.
right? Like
Yeah,
there's
the Flyers have a couple players. Yeah,
yeah, and it's like you would love to see why can't I think of
like Owen
literally
Beck was
anybody
one
right now?
one of them, like
Yeah,
the last cuts.
Yeah, Owen Beck, you'd like to even shockingly, Florian Jacka has been insanely good, which, I crashed out about that pick. I will admit that. I had a whole thing about we're doing Nepo picks now, and it worked out. Listen, Kent was cooking, and it didn't really matter because it was like a 456,000 pick anyway, so who cares at that point? Um, but yeah, I think the big pieces are there. I am happy with the big pieces.
Right.
It'd be nice if we could get a center who can win a face-off or two. Um, Nick is improving in that. Alex Newhook has been trying very hard. He's been great this season so far. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm satisfied with the big pieces. I think this team has their power play going forward. I really do.
Mhm.
That power play one is set. And I'm excited to see it because the oldest guy on that power play unit is 26 years old and it's Nick Suzuki, right? Like there's a
They are.
lot to be excited about there. But there's some holes that can be filled. But the good thing about the Habs prospect pool is, and this has always been the knock on them, is they've never had the guy, right? That was the issue. They never had the guy. They always had good guys. They always had mid-tier to high even prospects, but they never had that guy. And now that Demidov is out of that group, they don't have that guy, but it's fine because their guy is in the NHL, and that's ultimately where you want your guy, right?
Yeah. You don't
Uh,
care about prospect rankings after you're playing the playoffs.
exactly, exactly. So it's. I was actually somebody reminded me this is that this time last year the Habs were at the bottom of the league. It was the lowest they were, and we're seeing what happened this year. So I would like to, I'm sure it's going to be an up and down season. Like it's not going to last this well. We're already seeing some shifts in players. But I'd like to remind everybody Nick Suzuki has a very low shooting percentage right now and he's scoring at this rate, right? Like Juraj Slafkovsky is doing all those things and he's not getting rewarded for it. Kirby Duck has just started to get the point. So yeah, sorry for like the tangent. I'm just my answer is I feel like most of the core is here. A 2C would be really, really nice if you could get that briefly.
Yeah. Like, I'm looking at the blue line, like with add Reinbacher, add Cooley. Like
Mhm.
that's I think a championship like a blue line. Like you have Dobson, Hudson, Matheson, Carrier, Reinbacher, Cooley. Like
That's
some
it's pretty
combination
sick.
of those players.
It's pretty
Like
fucking
yeah,
sick.
I think that's good enough. And then you get say a Bo Horvat or like Alash Pedersen comes out or like
Or like a
wants to play 2C
or
or
like
Sidney
uh
Crosby.
maybe Sidney
Yeah.
Crosby.
But like that, you get your solidifier
Mhm.
forward lineup, and then you move back down to the third. You get Zach Bullduk, like a Bullduk, Demidov, Horvat, Crosby, X, whatever. Like that's a second line. That's a good
Yeah.
like even Bullduk on the third line, and then you get like whatever. There's I think there's enough talent there for sure.
I think right now,
I was just interested in what it.
as the team exists, I would still name this a playoff team. Despite the
Yeah.
fact that
Oh
they
yeah,
don't
yeah,
have a
yeah.
2C. That's the big
I
thing.
think I think they're a playoff team for sure, but it's just like their depth will be tested. Where like Alex
100%.
Newhook, are you really like say your first round you're playing Carolina wild card, or first round you're playing um
Toronto.
Florida or something
Yeah.
like Toronto, yeah. Toronto might be a playoff team. You're playing, yeah, like Carolina. Say like they make the wild card. Like you're talking about Stan Coven.
Mhm.
Like Seth Jarvis is on the third line right now for them. Like you're talking about those players up against Newhook and Kapanen and
I
like
actually do think Alex Newhook is making a space for himself. I have rose-colored glasses with Alex Newhook for sure because he was also an Av.
yeah,
That's like someone that I just have a soft spot for. Um, but definitely I don't think that Oliver Kapanen is going to
yeah,
be on your third line. Also because you have a lot of pieces that you're gonna when you trade for that 2C or if you have to trade for that 2C, you're gonna you're gonna have to give up some of those pieces, right? Like, I think that's the thing that's really funny about the way people talk about like guys that are like, for example, when Gooley's injury first was announced, it was like, oh, he's constantly injured. Let's get rid of him and we can get a 2C, including him in the deal. I was like, guys, you literally just said he sucks. So what are we doing here? Like, is he good or is he not? Like, so that's always the funny thing about talking about prospects because either he's like absolutely batshit awful and he's also going to get me a 2C. So always really
Yeah,
funny.
no, exactly.
But we got
Yeah,
our goalie of the future, so that's always
there you
knock
go.
on wood,
There you
knock
go.
on wood so hard.
Yep.
But we maybe got our goalie of the future. So
Yeah.
okay, taking a deep breath. I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat, and also we have gone a lot longer than I expected. Again, apologies. I'm so sorry. And I was just having fun, right? Like, what are we gonna do?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and I do eventually have to edit this and post it, so that's on me. Anyways, I am going to go do that. Thomas, you want to tell people where they can find you and more about
Yeah.
you, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. Yeah. So Thomas at broadstreethockey.com. Yeah, Sludge Williams on all socials and everything like that. But yeah, broadstreethockey.com. We're an independent flyer site. We were part of SB Nation, like Habs on the Eyes on the Prize. Like Andrew was kind of part of we're kind of with them. Um, then SB Nation decided to let us go. So since then we've gone independent, have our own subscription service and all this stuff. But most content's free. So if you're interested in Flyers content, definitely go there. And yeah, we have our own YouTube channel as well. I'm promoting it or whatever, but at Broad Street Hockey.
I'll put all those links
Yeah,
in the description.
yeah, yeah, all that stuff. Like click the links below or whatever. But yeah, it's yeah, we're doing our own thing for Flyers.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's all.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, as I said, I'll have those links in the description. And once again, I'm going to remind you if you guys haven't liked and subscribed, please do that. We are also on your podcast. I think we're on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So if you like podcast versions of this, then you're welcome to go there also, and maybe also go there and subscribe even if you don't like it. Just do us a solid, guys, please, please and thank you. Uh, so I am going to head off. I believe Andrew is doing the next game, and maybe the Avs. The Habs will figure it out. All right. Good night, everybody.